Chicago Fire teases the return of beloved character in Season 14 for farewell story. When it comes to exit storylines, not all Chicago Fire characters are crafted with a good one. There are often times when the exit is one line mentioned in the next premiere, and many fans likely worry that is going to be the case for Daniel Keary. Darren Ritter isn't going to be back as a series regular in Chicago Fire Season 14, just like Sam Carver. Yet Jake Lockett's Carver was gifted an exit storyline, which seemed a few episodes in the works. He made it clear that there were too many triggers in Chicago, so he had put in for a transfer to Dallas. Ritter didn't get anything. There were no hints that he was thinking of leaving Chicago or the fire department, so there are now many questions about what's to come in Chicago Fire Season 14. In some good news, Andrea Newman shared with TV Line that there may be a chance to bring Ritter back. Ritter could get a goodbye in Chicago Fire Season 14. Newman didn't promise anything, but she shared that the writers were still working out how to write Ritter out of the series. It sounds like the decisions made by NBC came fairly late in the game, and while Carver's exit was easy to manage, Ritter's was not. The exit of these two characters definitely came from outside of the series, and it leaves us disappointed in the decisions. We're still working on all of that because we're not even back for next season. And all this, a lot of it was surprises. We're going to play with all this and see what we get and how much time we get with Daniel Keary, who we love, and the character who we love. There's lots of possibilities there. Right now, there is a need to look at Ritter's development over the last few seasons. It all depends on how much time the show gets with Keary, which hints that he could potentially return for Chicago Fire Season 14. If there are a couple of episodes, it could lead to something happening in the premiere that leads to him choosing to leave in the second episode. However, there are fears that Ritter's exit will be handled in the way so many others' exits have. The exits are one-liners from other characters, leading to an unfulfilling exit for those we've come to know and love. While the two actors are not returning as series regulars, there is nothing to say that they can't return. Chicago Fire has brought characters back before, such as Gabby Dawson, Matt Casey, and just recently, Wallace Bowden. In fact, the series even brought back Alberto Rosand at the start of Chicago Fire Season 12 to craft a goodbye. And that's the way the series could go with Keary's Ritter. Now it all depends on contracts and availability. If Keary has already landed a new gig, he may not be available for the filming of the Chicago Fire Season 14 premiere. We'll just have to wait and see at this point, but there is some hope. This article was originally published on Geeksided.com as Chicago Fire teases the return of beloved character in Season 14 for farewell story. The heat isn't just from the flames this time, it's from the emotions that have fans on edge. Chicago Fire is teasing a storyline so powerful, so full circle, it might just burn brighter than any inferno they've tackled. Rumor has it, a beloved character is making a return. One final time for a farewell story that will leave no dry eyes at Firehouse 51. The news spread like wildfire when producers dropped a cryptic teaser, a pair of worn bunker boots, a Station 51 nameplate, and the chilling caption, "One last shift. One final goodbye." Fans were quick to decode the hints. Some speculated it could be Matt Casey again. Others whispered Stella Kidd might be leaving. But the most consistent and emotionally gut-wrenching theory? The return of Brian Otis Ivonsek. Otis, played by Yuri Sardarov, was tragically killed in the line of duty back in Season 8. His death shattered viewers and left a permanent hole in the firehouse. His quirky humor, warm heart, and brotherly bond with Joe Cruz were unforgettable. But now, word is circulating that Otis will be returning, not through resurrection, but in a way only Chicago Fire could pull off, A farewell woven with flashbacks, visions, and emotional closure. The episode, currently titled Through the Smoke, is set to air near the season finale. Insiders say the story will center around Joe Cruz, who's been struggling silently. The pressures of fatherhood, responsibility as a senior firefighter, and the weight of loss are catching up to him. He begins to spiral after a particularly devastating rescue mission that eerily mirrors the fire that took Otis's Cruz life. Begins having dreams, vivid, almost too real, where Otis appears. Not as a ghost, not quite as a hallucination, but as a presence. A guide. The first dream is simple. Otis in their old shared bunk, humming Danny Boy, and nudging Cruz to get up for morning drill. Cruz wakes up shaken, convinced it's just grief playing tricks. But then it happens again. This time, Cruz and Otis are sitting on top of 51, sharing a beer and watching the city lights, just like they used to. Otis laughs, teases him, even quotes obscure Star Trek trivia. Cruz asks if he's going crazy, but Otis doesn't answer. Instead, he tells him something he's been needing to hear. "You've carried this weight long enough, Hermano. You kept my legacy alive, but it's time to let me go." Back at the firehouse, Cruz begins acting differently. More introspective. He finds old photos of their crew, listens to voicemails he couldn't delete, and even revisits the site of Otis's memorial. He opens up to Chief Bowden, admitting he's been seeing Otis. Bowden, with his usual wise calm, doesn't dismiss him. "Sometimes," he says, "the people we've lost find their way back when we need them most." Meanwhile, the rest of the crew begins to notice. Ritter finds Cruz talking quietly to himself. Mouch catches him humming Otis's favorite karaoke song. Kid gently intervenes, encouraging him to talk. Finally, it's Gallo who reminds Cruz of what Otis meant to the team. "You taught me everything you learned from him," Gallo says. "So maybe he's not gone. Maybe he's just here, still helping us." The emotional climax comes during a massive fire at a historical theater. It's dangerous, unstable, and eerily similar to the one that claimed Otis's life. Cruz hesitates when he hears a child scream echo through a collapsing wall. He freezes, but then he sees him. Otis. Standing there, calm, steady, just like he always was. Otis gives him a nod. The same nod he used to give right before they'd run into a blaze together. With renewed strength, Cruz moves. He saves the child, pulls another firefighter to safety, and gets out just before the structure collapses. When he turns around, there's no Otis, just the smoke. Back at the firehouse, everyone's gathered for a surprise. In the kitchen sits an old laptop, freshly repaired. It's Otis's. Inside is a video none of them had seen, a farewell message he'd recorded just in case. The camera is shaky, the background messy, but his smile is unmistakable. "If you're seeing this," Otis says, "then I guess I didn't make it. But that's not what matters. What matters is that I got to be part of something bigger than myself. This house, this family, we're forever. So raise a toast for me. Keep saving lives. And Cruz, stop being so grumpy." The room goes silent. Cruz stands in the back, tears streaming silently. Then slowly he raises a glass of orange soda, Otis's favorite. One by one, the others follow. The final scene cuts to the rooftop again. This time, it's Cruz alone, the city below, the stars above. He closes his eyes and breathes. For the first time in a long time, he feels peace. As the screen fades to black, Otis's voice echoes one last time. End of shift. Be safe out there, 51. Fans can expect this episode to be a masterclass in Chicago Fire's signature emotional storytelling. Whether you've been with the show since day one or joined along the way, The return of Otis, even if only in memory, will be a powerful goodbye to a character who lit up the screen. Because some heroes never really leave. They just live on in legacy and laughter, and in the firehouse they helped build. And this time, Otis gets the final salute.